And just learn from my mistakes. Okay, so we have these guys encircled. Infantry probably could deal with him, but that's going to be the problem because, and if we come here, that anti-tank gun will hit, but not him. He's the one immune to all support fire, so he could strike it there without damage, but he's sort of weak right now. Okay, good. Kill 2 factors. Oh, good. That pushes them away. Well, somewhat away. I guess. Oh, no, there's a full hex back there, I think. Well, now they're back to maybe being supported, but lightly at best. There we go. That's good. That works. Move these guys up here. Let's bring in a fighter, I think. A little bit of strafing and suppressing, hopefully. Well, just weakened it. There we go. Yeah, fall back, you come to here. Okay, very good. These 221s also have, not sure whether it's a MG15 or a MG34, but it's also just a basically 30 caliber type. Weapon. Let's move you up. We can reinforce you. Already moved. A little bit of a traffic jam. But they're getting a recon bonus. Now we're going to replace you and make sure that we use 1, 2, oh, 3. Okay, yeah, let's just make sure they're all properly escorted. All 3 of them are. There we go. All right, start my turns with yes. You're absolutely right, Kushan. That is the best. Hey, yeah. that is the best idea. Always start with air and artillery. Unless, you know, and some of the, you know, if there's an anti-aircraft gun that you want to destroy before bringing in your air or something like that, but that is best. Very good. That looks like they're going to be close enough to... FT-17s, which everybody owned. Just almost the most ubiquitous tank. At least the most ubiquitous tank out there. You go back to watching the sky. In the interwar period for sure. Okay. Well, in that spirit, let's... come up. Let's try to do this smart. So we get mass attack bonuses. Didn't quite take him down. Yeah, I guess we'll use our other fighter to... We want to put the nail fully in the coffin. There we go. Now, properly, it looks like we could only escort an attack there. Well, let's use our appear weakest. How well? These guys are a bit stronger, and they'll probably survive some air attacks, even if unescorted. Right, okay. And I'm going to actually move these guys back because we're going to see about reinforcing them. Okay, they're fully suppressed now. And they're fully gone now. Good. Now the tanks against the infantry in the towns are not the best idea. And we have this tank out over here to deal with. At least get the reconnaissance bonus. On the high ground, okay, good. Pushed them right out of the town. Well, you know, since we have it, let's use the reconnaissance aircraft. Come up to here just to see what's all around us. Okay, that hex is taken. That hex is taken. There we go. Oh no, I wanted to move you here. There we go. Hopefully he won't be destroyed, but even if he is, it's... I'm not going to say worth the loss, but it's not going to be that big of a tragedy. I don't know. Do we even have a target for this? Not really. But I guess what we'll do is hit this and move him to here. And yeah, that's all of our air. Hello, Eraser. Core army units to the main game. I don't think so, because it's a different campaign. And you start afresh at the beginning of a campaign. That would be an interesting idea. Now, we're obviously here playing as the Germans in Spain. And it was military history visualized. You probably know the channel on YouTube. If you don't, you should look it up. He does a really good job. And he uses a lot of primary sources. Oh, we should move the aircraft, the anti-aircraft up. And yeah, I figured we might lose one of these, but we'll be able to push back on that. He does a good job with research, and I'm not disputing any of his. I think we're going to do a pause this turn and repair our armor. And I think his research is good. I just want to make that statement up front. And he even sort of mentions that the Panzer, the ground element, kept asking permission for Germans to operate the Panzer ones, because I think notice I say I think most of the time the tanks are being operated by Spanish tankers. Okay, let's also yeah, we're getting out of range. So let's move all you guys up here. This is going to be a pause turn, basically. So, but he talks about how one of the German officers was killed in a Panzer I to enemy action, and Berlin's keep saying back, nope. You know, when asked, can we operate them? Always no. Kept sending, you know, make sure you're not in combat. Make sure you're not in combat. I think they were in combat a lot more than the official record shows. I think the Germans learned a lot with what was going on, and I think they were driving the tanks themselves a lot. Always starting with artillery versus flak bombers has been my New Year's resolution for the past quarter century. Okay. Fred Orville's Homage to Catalonia. I have not read that. He did fight in the Spanish Civil War on the Republican side, and so he would be a rather good authority for what's going on. Let's move up just to get the reconnaissance bonus. See, notice how much higher the likelihood of damage went. And move it. Well, let's see. So that way they're supporting. Could we be? I actually wrote a research paper in university on the Spanish War. Hey, Pixel. The war is going well. To what he personally saw, which was mostly low-intensity warfare, although there were periods where things got hot. Yeah, I am not an expert and don't want to come off as on George Orwell. But he should be someone to be paid attention to with what is going on, not just in the Spanish Civil War, but the left in general, shall we say, in this time frame. Why can't we get? Is it just they're exerting too much? control to get, because we've got to go there to there. Can they fall back to there? Yes, they can. Bridges are never good to be held, but okay, that does help a bit. Okay, we should have probably attacked with that infantry against that anti-tank gun. So, let's see if we undo this. And I know I forgot to do the air again first because I was... No, we moved all the air. That's right. That's right. Yeah, I did move the air, but we didn't attack this turn. Okay. I'm not sure. Okay. Republican cells through their internal divisions, although personally I'm not sure that was accurate. It could be that they started infighting. Okay, well, I've read some stuff as well as watched some documentaries on the Spanish Civil War and what was going on. This was made from the Soviets, but the Soviets were opportunistic in asking for as much as possible for their weapons. My understanding of the situation, and you're hitting on it there with the Soviets, they bring in definitely some advisors. I don't really think any, correct me if I'm wrong on any of this stuff from any of you, any like ground fighting personnel. They weren't like Italy with 3 or was it 4 divisions sort of bringing in large ground personnel. They were bringing in technical advisors, but they were also bringing in NKVD types, and they were very much trying to control the situation like the Stalinists were doing in many areas of leftist movements, not just communists. And so my understanding is the Soviets would give material aid, tanks, rifles, bullets, artillery shells, whatever it may be, to units that were more loyal to them. And they were also advising higher command within it and saying, well, if you want to have supplies to continue to flow to Spain, you do what we say. Oh, see that anarchist unit over there, whatever its name is? Have them attack that town or that position or whatever. No, it doesn't matter that they don't have any ammunition or they haven't got the new guns or no machine guns or whatever. Just have them attack. And so they very much showed to the Spanish, the units that were loyal to the Soviets were getting all the good weapons, the ammo, the supplies, and they were trying to bleed white, pun intended, the nonconformist units, whether they be Trotskyite communist or anarchist or just sort of middle of the road Republicans who weren't either a staunchly Catholic faction, royalist faction, or fascist faction, or whatever the faction. And there was a bunch of them on, actually 2 royalist factions on the nationalist side. So, so they were trying to bleed these other units white. In my opinion, by the end of the Civil War, had the Republicans won, it would have become a People's Republic under Stalinist boot heel. So that's my my understanding of how, and plus along with assassinations of, effective leaders on the Republican side that weren't, quietly kind of things, or claiming there were traitors or whatever it may be, to try to maintain control. So you sold them the weapons as well. Yep. To determine the Republican side. We'll discuss that as well as they start turning on, bad communists. And this Orwell, I am not going to say he ever sort of gives up his socialism, but he becomes very disenchanted, and not just in Spain, but very disenchanted with a lot of leftist organizations, as far as I can tell, and sees them as a significant danger, as it were. Yeah, this guy's not doing well. He's totally suppressed, and he can't retreat. And well, he retreated to there, but yeah, we gotta relink up. We've got to relink up, or no. Wow, how is he still alive? Wow, this guy is monumentally, well, monumentally effed too, but okay, that got that, which is good. They're going to come over here, and can these guys somehow get out alive? No, apparently no, because they're there. Okay, well, let's try to remember. Gamer, try to remember to use your air power. Now let's see if we can just use a standard fighter to take him out. There we go. Now we can get back to here at least. Get back into supply and somewhat protection. It was a bit lukewarm on the Republican cause. And you know, when you sort of, to a lot of people, and I don't mean just, you know, leftists or some sort of term like that, but when you describe it as Republican cause, it sounds really good. Sounds just, you know, emotionally by the name. Can we bring it down in one? Yes, good. It sounds good. But if we look at the reality, including the reality of what was going on the ground before the death squads, before the start of the actual Civil War, it's not a clear, you know, these are the good guys and these are the bad guys, you know. Because trust me, I totally get the idea, you know, hey, there were fascists on one side and fascists aren't good guys. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that the other side is the good guys. It just means well, let's move you to here so we get a reconnaissance bonus. There's one interesting bit where he was taking cover in a graveyard, and he notes that some of the enterprising communists had chiseled off the crosses on every gravestone. Yeah, and it's things like that, and you know, I definitely want to talk about the history of the games that we're presenting here, but I'm not trying to get overly political, but just really look at the realities of the situation. It was clearly not a, you know, something that we can describe as a white hat versus black hat situation. You don't get that. That's an old cowboy movies reference. So, ooh, they've got lots of artillery. No, thank you. We're just going to come up here and hold. And so, you know, so I it was a dirty, messy war. It really was. Where some wars I can, and at least much of the audience, can sort of agree on good guys versus bad guys. Kind of thing. But I'm really, from all of my reading and research, not there on the Spanish Civil War. That we have a good guys and bad guys. Now, I will say this. For all of his faults, and I'm not going to say he didn't have them, I do sort of admire Franco. He didn't go super bad, shall we say. He didn't go Stalinist or whatever, or Hitlerite or something like that. He did definitely imprison them. There's definitely problems with Republicans post-war, but he wasn't completely too harsh on that. Spain was in a very bad place. So I'm not trying to defend that everything he did there was good. But his big thing, the two things I really admire about Franco, and yes, there are things that I admire about him, and again, I'm not saying he's all good by any means, is that he keeps Spain out of World War II, and I think he very much... the price for the DLC, I'm not sure. I don't know if it's actually been stated what the price is. I've not seen a thing on it, Eraser. I would gladly tell you if I knew. So he keeps Spain out of World War II, which is a big thing. And two, he sets up for at his death, to have the king brought back in, and so to have a peaceful transition to power to modern Spain, instead of trying to hold on to some sort of dictatorship, which he was through the rest of his life, but instead of trying to keep that going, he keeps the fascists in check also during his reign, because there are fascists in his government, phalangists or phalanquist or however you want to pronounce it, but they're in his government, but they're not in the power in his government. They're just a faction within his government. And he sets it up to transition to sort of a constitutional monarchy that currently you have in Spain. And I think he does a great job at that. And so those are the two things I admire about Franco. And if you want to complain about the bad things he did, I'm not going to disagree with you on whatever bad things he did. It's not a blanket endorsement or defense of him. It's just I see him as a person dealing with very trying times. And I'm not saying he made the right decisions at whatever points and wherever, and that war crimes either were ordered by him or committed by his faction. I'm sure there are war crimes committed by his faction, but I don't know his culpability in individual situations and that kind of thing. Yeah, he did. He had the smarts to stay out of the war, even if it seems like the Axis might win. Yes, that. Yeah, I think he purges fascists. Well, there's still fascists going on to the end, but I don't know how high. I'm not an expert on it. How high in the government? Because I'm blanking on his name right now. But the foreign minister during World War II for Spain was a fascist or phalangist. I forget his name right now. And so the fascists had, at least during the war years, a lot of influence in the nationalist government. Even to the best of my knowledge, Franco was not a fascist. Yeah, of course, you go far enough left, everybody's a fascist. But in reality, no, I don't think he was a fascist. He was a nationalist, a practical person, follows the policies he sees best as opposed to being ideological. And so, yeah, keeps that down. So that's what I sort of admire from Franco. He was decades ago. From Steel Panthers, I always want to play the Spanish Civil War. Yes, I'm so glad that they've announced Steel Tigers coming, which is sort of a follow-up to Steel Panthers. I love that game. Franco he was not. He was a nationalist leader, not a fascist leader. There is a difference there. Yeah, and as PS is saying he typical dictator strongman. Oh, absolutely. I'm not like trying to say he, is the right government or whatever, any sort of endorsement like that. It's just dealing with the realities of what was happening at the time. Uh-oh, more air power coming in, this time a full strength aircraft. And so I study history, politics, government, all that kind of stuff. And so I really try to, regulars, we're getting regular. Oh, you zoomed away from it. And well, those are police, I think, or Garda Civil, which is sort of a militarized police. So these guys are going to fight better than the militia rabble. Franco also managed to get a shitload of supply. Yeah, from Germany, absolutely. Give nothing, at least nothing substantial. He gave, covert basing to some U-boats and things like that, and covert radio listening bases and whatnot to the Germans, but no substantial stuff. Prevent birth of communist dictatorship in Western Europe. Absolutely, Van Bishop. That is very important. Yeah. I'm not going to say the fascist regime. No, not fascist. The nationalist regime was some wonderful paradise. It was not. I'm not saying it didn't have its dark aspects, but compared to what would have happened had which I think it would have been a Stalinist regime happening in Western Europe prior to or the forming months of World War II happened, that would have been very, very dark for Europe, in my opinion. I have not encountered any U.S. volunteer units specifically. I don't know if the international brigades are differentiated as opposed to different nationalities versus just generally they are international brigades. There is a posting, dev diary posting with all the unit types that are in the game. I don't have the link to it right now. If somebody knows it, wants to post it in chat, link to the dev diary that talks about that, but I don't remember any specific. Okay, you're going to see about coming to there. You're going to get a full, well, as worked up as full as we can. You're going to stay in the town. Let's see, might be able to make it. Okay, well, yes, good. These guys can get to here. Keep holding on. Okay, and yes, I need to remember to do the air first. We're going to come up here. We're going to surround. Is he go? No, undo that. We need to be next to the air unit. But we want to do this so that we get mass attack on at least the earlier attacks, but they'll be weaker each time. And we should have done that first. Yeah, that would have been best to do that first by far. Again, learn from my mistakes. Don't keep repeating my mistakes. The problem with trying to set up some of these mass attack type attacks is that you will attack and then they'll retreat, and then your other unit nearby won't be in the right position, because unlike the... Ooh, that isn't good. Yeah, that looks devastating. You keep moving around here. Yeah, we'll keep going that way. May free them up from being encircled, but still. Yeah, you can get there. That's good. That should have been maybe done earlier. as they charge through the storm of artillery. Okay. Greater suppression, but less dead, it looked like. Yeah, and yes, I should have done this first. I was reluctant because we didn't kill that unit. There may be more showing up to really give us problems for unescorted fighters, but it's probably for the best. Probably won't take them all out at the sky, as it were.